best advice I ever got in security. Go.
Yeah, so the best advice to me initially started as the worst. So I had a previous boss who wanted us to fix our phishing issues, and we're going to fire everyone after they get phished 3 times. I had to say, actually, we would end up firing you. But more importantly, it helped us reevaluate what we wanted to do for phishing, which is changing behavior. And if someone thinks they're going to get fired, they're not going to tell you, they're not going to report.
You're listening to CISO Series Podcast, recorded in front of a live audience in Houston.
Welcome to the CISO Series Podcast. My name is David Spark. I'm the producer of the CISO Series. And to my immediate left is my guest who was here last year when we did the show. It's Jerich Beason, the CISO for WM. Let's hear it for Jerich. Say hello to the audience, Jerich.
Hello, audience.
That's what my other co-host Steve Zalewski says. It's just like that. In fact, people have come up to him and said, "Hello, Steve," just like that. He introduced him. By the way, we are recording live at WhoSecCon, which, by the way, I pronounced it incorrectly. I did like HowSecCon or something stupid like that. I got definitely admonished for that. But we're at WhoSecCon. Let's hear it from the WhoSec audience. And we are available at CISOseries.com, where all our wonderful programming is. Our sponsor for today's episode, the reason we are here in Houston, Vorlon Security, enterprise SaaS security that's light years behind the legacy SSPM tools. More about that later in the show. Let's hear it for Vorlon for making us come here to Houston. All right, before we begin, one of the staples of the CISO series is a game we play called What's Worse, which we will play today. And as I understand, you play a version of it at your office. Some of your staff members are here, Jerich. How do you play the game differently?
All right, so we call it Pick Your Poison because, copyright. And what we do is we have a scenario, different people on our team provide that scenario, and the team is divided on if they go with option A or option B. But their goal is to pick the option they think that I would want to take in front of the board. That is the mindset that they have, and it helps them learn who I am, how I am, and a lot of decisions are made now without me having to be in the room because we play that game.
That is awesome. The fact that they can essentially think like you. But hold it. How do you then, if they're all thinking like you, how do you get that very diversity of sort of understanding of cybersecurity incidents?
So one, usually the majority is wrong.
Okay.
For me, that's actually best because it's a learning opportunity. And at the end of the day, incidents are a shared responsibility. So I'm gonna still find out about everything. But when we have to make risk-based decisions, they can say, well, what would Jerich do? It's another version of WWJD.
I like it. All right, let's bring on our guest. He's to our left. You heard him at the very beginning of the show. He's a CISO for Gong. Let's hear it for Jack Lydecker. Say hello to the audience, Jack.
Hello.
That works for me.
What's the motivation to do this?
Open source devs of the world unite? Quote, it is long past time that maintainers stop letting them, being the organizations, take advantage of the maintainers' good nature. Now that's Justin Warren of Pivot 9 arguing that organizations have developed a parasocial relationship with open source software. It's seen as naturally recurring resource rather than human labor requiring support. His solution, listen to this, maintainers should go on strike. Stop rushing to fix things for those freeloaders and patch security flaws at a leisurely pace unless someone's paying. All right, Jerich, do you agree organizations are taking advantage of open source's goodwill? And if so, can this continue, because it has been, or should something be done? I mean, Warren's suggestion is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I would agree that most IT shops with some type of development function are definitely heavily dependent upon open source, and it is a disproportionate level of consumption versus contribution. That being said, I would look at that parasocial concept a little bit differently. It's not completely one-sided. Large organizations are contributing code, testing, in some cases even funding. But by and large, the majority of organizations are more consumption than contribution. This whole concept of striking, though, I think that could be catastrophic.
Yeah, it sounds pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
Log4j, XZ maybe a year ago showed us that a small set of maintainers can have impact over millions of systems. And what we learned when we thought MITRE was going to get defunded is that companies are willing to pay if they're going to lose their CVE database. I think that's the blueprint that we follow. I would agree ultimately that the status quo is not working, but the solution should fix the ecosystem, not weaponize it.
That is the good closing line there. All right, Jack, I throw it to you. What's your feeling on this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a little messy, right? Because on one hand, people want open source so they can have transparency, see what they can do. It is hard when you're not being paid for it, but I also think a lot of the volunteers want to be able to be part of a project, but I think there does need to be a bit more of a balance, right? How do people contribute to it? Are companies being able to sponsor it? I think if you move straight into commercial, it kind of defeats the whole core of what open source was, right? Which is, we want to
now
share
it's your commercial software. It's something different.
Exactly, and even a lot of the people that are part of the project really don't want it to go commercial, right? Because they got frustrated with vendors not being able to actually update it correctly, being able to change it. So it's being able to find what that balance is. But I agree, like striking isn't the right answer. But
No.
I do think whether it's fundraising or pushing a bit more or saying, hey, if we can't get this, like you said with MITRE, you can get something without having to go full commercial, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of open source too.
All right, so what is the happy balance here? And my feeling is a lot of times people do this for the recognition and the love of it. So is there a better or a different recognition we can offer? What do you think, Jerich?
I think the Wikipedia model might work, right? Like we consume Wikipedia and we know that when we go there, they say, hey, if you want to help us stay on, you can pay, right? I think people even having an opportunity and a path to contributing would be helpful. But if you create a more commercial model, SLAs come along, structure comes along, and expectations come along. And now we've lost the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish.
Have either of you hired someone who supported open source software?
If you have a developer, you have someone that supports open source software.
Okay, that answers that question. All right.
And I would say I've actually had some that were very involved in some projects, and it was actually interesting because they supported some security onion work and other things in the past. So there's a benefit from that perspective. It helped them get experience, but it is a bit of a different model, right? As Jared mentioned, I think if you go commercial, SLAs is going to kill it.
Is AI going to help us or hurt us?
Quote, almost 2/3 of IT leaders agree that generative AI challenges the geopolitical status quo, allowing smaller nations and non-state actors to emerge as near-peer cyber threats. I'm quoting you, Jerich, as you were referencing the 2025 Armis Cyber Warfare Report. With AI in the mix, threat actors no longer need deep expertise or vast resources, just intent and access. Now, something we saw initially with ransomware as a service, some regional conflicts that wouldn't normally be on many companies' radars now have global implications. So I'm going to start with you, Jerich, on this, since you kind of brought it to our attention. Does geopolitical intelligence need to be part of a company's risk assessments? Because some small companies, it doesn't even hit their radar at all. And if so, how do you decide what geopolitical events fall into your risk profile, and how are you even tracking this once you define it?
Man, I wrote that? Okay.
You didn't write all of that. You wrote the beginning quote that I quoted you on.
So historically, we would look at a small set of nation states that were well-funded, and that was the adversary we had to focus on. But now it's not about capability, it's about desire. Because with $100, a couple $1,000s, we've now lowered the bar for how you can actually enter into some type of cyber attack. And so now we don't just have a few countries, we have the entire world that could potentially be targeting us. And AI is making that so much easier. As a service, as you pointed out, is making this so much easier. So I look at it a few different ways. There are about 3 questions you need to ask in your risk assessment process. 1, what are the services and critical operations we have, and what are the supply chain dependencies? The second one is, are there any specific nation states that are targeting our industry in particular? And then lastly, are there any business endeavors, M&A activity, sponsorships, you name it, that could be viewed as opposing to one side of a conflict? And those questions will help you determine likelihood and impact. And we can no longer look at cyber risk in a silo. It has to be viewed collectively and holistically. And at the end of the day, it's not should we include this information, it's how do we operationalize it as fast as we can, because an attack that's happening on one side of of the world can end up at your doorstep if you're considered to be on the opposite side of a conflict.
All right. I throw this to you, Jack.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've been seeing this change for a while anyhow, right? I mean, as cybersecurity, and especially on the other side, has been commercialized, right? I can go buy passwords, I can move things quickly. AI accelerated some of this. I think it is important to understand what's my risk, what's going on. I think the aspect of, hey, we may not be a target because of something is something you really want to reevaluate, because a lot of times we've seen some of the smaller groups just try and make a name for themselves, right? They may not even be going after what you expect. They want to create an impact. If you're vulnerable, they're able to attack you a lot faster. So I think here it's just more, you need to be aware of what your risk is, how can you respond to it, and really, regardless of what industry you're in, someone's going to be interested in being able to take you down. You need to be able to understand what that is and how you might be able to mitigate it.
So the thing is, just going to the last things you were saying there, is that I'm a small company with a small security team. I can't be dealing with everything. Is it enough to just build out my security program and not be paying attention to the threats? Because I don't know if I have even the bandwidth to even think that.
It's hard when you're on some of the smaller companies,
yes.
right? I think this is where you see lots of partners and other ones that try and help with it. But honestly, if you're not aware of what's going on, especially from a threat intelligence perspective and everything else, you're going to miss what some of your vulnerabilities are.
Like, what would be a bare minimum? Like, we talk about this, quoting Wendy Nather, she talks about the security poverty line. What would be the equivalent of the security poverty line for threat intelligence?
I mean, there's a lot of open source that's out there, right? And I would say most of your SIM vendors, even your EDR, have things that you can add in. It's not super fancy. You may not be able to get, hey, I'm scanning dark web just for me, but at least being aware of what's going on out there, right? Because especially when you see big campaigns, they usually start off smaller. So if there's a big ransomware campaign that's targeting retail, I'm a small retail business, I need to understand if the attacks that they're using are something that I'm more vulnerable to or not.
All right, same question for you. What do you think that sort of minimum line of security awareness / threat intelligence is?
Well, you kind of alluded to the small and medium business. Most of them don't have large security teams because they've outsourced it. So instead of you doing that work, you should make sure your outsourcer is doing that work. Threat intel is something that is not really understood, but at the end of the day, it's all about understanding your adversary and what they're after. You want to know if your data, your systems would be a target, and you want to know what tactics that the bad actors are using so that you can protect yourself. And if you see a geopolitical conflict in place and X, Y, and Z group is involved, you know that they're after financial data. So let's look at our financial data. You know that they use, calling to your help desk. Let's make sure our help desk is ready. Whatever it may be, understanding your adversary is step one in understanding where your attack is going to come from.
Who's our sponsor this week?
Before we go on any further, let me tell you a little bit about Vorlon, our phenomenal sponsor. They sponsored us here last year at WhoSecCon. All right, big update for security teams thinking beyond basic SaaS security posture management. Vorlon just redefined SaaS security with a platform that brings context and control to your entire SaaS ecosystem. Here's what's new. Vorlon's patent-pending data matrix technology gives you near real-time visibility into every connection, secret, and sensitive data flow across your SaaS and connected apps and services. Now you can actually see what's talking to what, spot risky data sharing, and catch abnormal activity as it happens. Now, worried about dormant OAuth tokens, over-permissioned service accounts, or shadow integration sneaking in? Vorlon alerts you and helps you respond in minutes. Revoke risky secrets, investigate suspicious events, and even automate remediation with your SIM, SOAR, or ITSM. And let's talk compliance. Whether you're wrangling PCI, HIPAA, SOC 2, or just prepping for the next audit, Vorlon gives you audit-ready reports and evidence at your fingertips. No more screenshot marathons. Now the best part, Vorlon's agentless, proxy-free setup means you're up and running in under an hour without disruption for instant value. And of course, you get world-class support trusted by Fortune 500 companies and high-growth teams alike. You can see, detect, and secure your SaaS and AI ecosystem. You can get started. You got to go to the website, though. Vorlon, Vorlon.io. Go to Vorlon.io. And when you go there, let them know you heard about them from the CISO series.
It's time to play What's Worse?
All right. We are going to play again. You've played this game many times, Jerich, and you play it with your team many times.
I have.
All right. So, you are familiar with this game, Jack?
Yes, a little bit.
All right. It's
Not to the
two
level
bad
of
scenarios. It's two crappy scenarios. And we're going to get the audience's response on this as well. You get two crappy scenarios. One of them you have to deem is worse. So you don't choose the one that's better. The one that's worse, and explain why. And you can disagree or agree on this. But here we go. Comes from Eric Block of Illumio, and here are the two scenarios. Scenario number one. You spend $1 million a year on an LLM-powered detection and response tool that reduces your analyst workload and their burnout, but there is no measurable reduction in risk or incident volume. So the value you get out of it is your team is not getting burnt out or overloaded. Okay? That's the value. But that's what you're spending $1 million on. Or you spend no money on LLM-powered tools, relying on human analysts who are constantly overwhelmed, and they turn over every 9 to 12 months. Which one is worse?
Man, that sucks because LLM powered is a problem in itself. It's not agent based. Well, I'm always going to err on the side of caring for the human, and so
You'll drop the $1 million a year to keep them alive and healthy.
there might be some AI SOC vendors in here. None of them are $1 million. So the fact that an LLM is based one is $1 million is a problem. So I'm going to eat the fact that I'm not making a good financial decision for my company, but the humans that I care for are cared for, and so I'm going to go with that option.
All right, so the business is going to be furious with you.
They're not going to know because I'm the security guy, and they just want to stay out of
You're
the
spending.
newspaper.
Well, supposedly you got $1 million to spend on this. We'll see.
Yeah.
It
All
depends
right.
on what your budget is, right? If I can hide that, then that makes it easier. But turning over people every 9 months, that sucks.
That's
like
it.
your
But
SOC is ineffective at that juncture. if that's
But
happening.
you're probably not. Well, I don't know. Will that equal $1 million 9 to 12 months?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
You're turning over
Yeah.
that many analysts.
Yeah, you'll be burning through
you're-
that pretty
you'll be-
fast.
No.
That's 7 analysts fully loaded, maybe.
No, but you're still spending the same amount of money. But I'm talking about the cost of the turnover each time. Are you spending $1 million on the cost of the
Yeah,
turnover?
but it takes a while for someone to become effective, right? So if I'm turning those
Right.
people over every 9 months, you're also not going to get people that are actually
Kidding me.
evolving. And like, if my
All right,
average
are you
headcount
agreeing
would
with
be that-
Jerich on this?
I would be, sadly.
Yeah. All right.
I really don't want to, but I think on this
So
one I
you
have to.
think you'd be burning $1 million in effectiveness and turnover if you chose the other option?
Yeah, well, not even just effectiveness and turnover, risk. Right?
Risk, okay.
Because you're not going to be able to detect what's going on if your people are turning over that quickly. They're not.
Well,
going to
no,
be
but
good.
the thing is that in both cases, your security is like the same. Your effectiveness is the same. One case, you're spending $1 million to keep people not burnt out. The other case is you're not spending the money and they're burning out every 9
So
to
they
12.
say one bad apple spoils a bunch. If my SOC is unhappy, I guarantee you that's permeating to other parts of my team. So this is a bigger impact than just the SOC.
Okay, so you see this trickling over. All right, let's go to the audience now. All right, so the two scenarios are you spend $1 million and you keep your audience, your SOC from burning out, or you don't spend the money and they burn out 9 to 12 months. In both cases, your quality of security is an incident response is the same. So again, you want to applaud for the worst scenario, the one that you think is worse. So the first one is the one that they both went with. By applause, how many people think that's the worst scenario? The people raising hands, they can't hear you hold it. Wait a second, I think the whole audience is going to go against you on this one.
I think they agree with this. They misunderstood.
Yeah,
You
okay.
guys agree with
Well,
this,
no, you think they agree. Again, the worst scenario, let me see. You think the worst scenario, oh no, I'm sorry, I take that
Yeah,
back.
you got it backwards.
I,
That's why
I
no one
screwed it up.
clapped.
Yeah.
That's why no one replied. Nobody agrees with you. One person raised their hand. Okay, you guys are following. I'm not saying the right thing. So the worst scenario is, or the second one they said is the worst scenario, turnover 9 to 12 months. By applause, how many think that's the worst? All right. And let me go to the first scenario. How many people, by applause, not raising your hand, because I can't record raising your hand on this microphone. By applause, did anyone think spending the $1 million to get essentially no results is better? Or worse, I'm sorry, is worse.
Way to be brave.
Way to go, Rich. Way to go.
Got one.
We got one person with the sarcastic clap. I appreciate it.
It's time to play Fantasy CISO.
Oh, did I say it? That's not the one we want to play.
Wrong one.
I hit the wrong one. Because the bumpers say the same thing here.
It's time to play a brand new game.
All right. You guys are all familiar with the Family Feud, right? You know how that game goes.
I am. I yell at my TV all the time.
All right. It's a fun game. So we kind of did this with our audience as well. We put up a survey on our site. We have a participate page. We're going to put up another one hopefully soon. We'll have some more questions up. And we asked 5 questions, and we'll see how many of these we can get through here. We asked 5 questions of our audience. So I'm going to ask you these questions, and I want to see if you can get the most popular answer. Shout it out if you know it. And if you can't get it, we'll go to the audience, and then we'll also see if the audience can get some of the other answers as well. All right. The first question is, remember, we got 70 responses here. Name something you should never share online.
Your password.
Password, that is number 1 response, 27 responses on that. All right, very good for you, Jack. Jack gets a point for that. All right, let's see. Can you get any of the other responses? Passwords being number 1.
Passport.
Passport. I will put that under personal identifiable information. That's number 3 with 11 responses. We have a number 2 more.
So would social probably fall under that too, right?
What'd you say?
Social security?
Social security, number 2. All right, you got first and second. All right. All right. We have 3 more popular responses. You think you can get the last 3? Either one of you?
Your vulnerabilities.
Vulnerable? No, individual, personal things, no.
User ID?
That would fall under PII.
Okay. Your address?
Contact or location information, that was number 5. We have 4 and 6. What do you think?
Kids' names.
Kids' names, no. Well, that would fall under contact and location information. If you get this one wrong, I'm going to the audience, see if they can get the last 2.
Your date of birth?
No. All right. 2 more. By the way, 3 responses for the content. We have 2 more, number 4 and 6. And we just shout it out. What do you think? A credit card, I will say financial information, yes. And then the very last one. Health, that would be under PII, no. Anything else? Oh, this one's a good one. No one's getting it. Company information? No. Nudes! Don't share nudes! All right.
Well, that's
I
boring.
don't know that I would have guessed that
All right,
one.
good job, everybody. Nobody got the answer. All right, here we go. Question number 2. Name something in cybersecurity that gets harder the longer you wait. Jump in when you know it.
Asset management.
Asset management, it's number 6. Asset inventory, number 6.
Patch management?
Patching updates, number 1 with 11. All right, 2 for 2 here. Excellent. Good job. All right, keep going. I got a total of 8 here. What do you think?
Identity and access management.
Identity response, or, well, hold it. Well, no, that's not, no, that wasn't it. No, asset and nobody answered that. What am I saying? Identity? No.
Who are you
By the way,
surveying?
patching and updates and vulnerability management is the same thing. I have that as one
Yeah,
name.
patching and vulnerability.
That's
would
the
be
same thing. That's the same thing. All right.
Secret management, although that could be password.
No.
Responding to incidents.
Instant response and breach management. Yes, that's number 2.
Phishing.
Phishing? No.
Oh.
That's not on our list at all. I'm going to give you one, but he's striked out.
Regulatory compliance.
Compliance and regulations. Yes, that's number 3. I have, all right. Again, name something in cybersecurity that gets harder the longer you wait. And I have 3 more. I have number 4, 5, and 7 here.
Hiring a CISO.
That's career and professional development. I'll give that to you. That's number 5.
That's a stretch. but
Number
all right.
4 is a little vague. It says fixing the organization. All right. You know what? Then number 7, I'm going to the audience on this one. This is a tough one, but it is something that definitely, I'm going to stress, the longer you wait, the more painful it becomes. What is it? Training. No. 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 I'm gonna give you a big hint. You work for a very big company, like like maybe your company or a healthcare company or an energy company. What did you say? No, not vendor. What did you say over here? No, not Shadow IT. No.
Should you give him a
Legacy tools. Legacy tools. All right. Let's keep going on this.
The audience agrees.
All right.
letter? Boo.
Here we go. Question 3. We'll just do it. Okay, here we go. Okay. We're going to finish on number 3 here. This is a good one. Name a cybersecurity mistake everyone makes but will not admit to. This one's easy. You should be able to get this one.
Reusing a password.
Yes, number 1. Good job. Good job. All right. Can you get any of the other? We got a total of 7 here. 33 responses, by the way, on that one.
Using unapproved software?
No, that is actually not on our list.
Oh, now we bring those out? All right.
Bypassing your security controls.
Not,
Not,
not really. It's not on
really? Okay.
our list here. I was trying to see if we could fall into for that.
Clicking on a phishing email.
Click a phishing email, yes. Sir, yes, sir. Good job. That's the second one. 7 responses to that. Oh, you know what? Hold it. You know what? Risky behaviors was number 3, and that's using public Wi-Fi, accepting cookies on websites, spam calls. It could be a lot of different things. All right, so we get another one with that. Okay, so I have the number 4 through 7. What do you think?
I gave you my good stuff, man.
Give you good stuff. Oh, let's go to the audience.
downloading. Oh, okay.
What do you got?
I was going to put downloading pirated software using Tor.
No. Okay. We got four more here. Let's see if the audience can get them. Shout them out if you know them. Sharing credentials, sharing access issues. Yes, number 6. 4 responses for that. Using their computer what? Leaving their computer open. That would be risky behaviors. The one that would fall under that category. Would someone yell out here? Not following change. Well, neglecting updates and patching. Yeah, that would fall under that. And then, well, there's one good one. Actually, only came in 7th that I thought. But also, that would also fall under security assumptions and overlooking basis. There's one more that's a good one. Anyone want to guess it? Default settings. You all do it. You know it.
How is AI going to solve this problem?
All right, what specific pain does your AI solve that simpler methods cannot? That's number 1 question. Caleb Sema of White Rabbit says you should ask any vendor patching AI security solutions. If you ask, be ready for a dearth of answers. Other AI hype red flags include vendors claiming 98 to 100% detection rates, promising to solve most security problems with a single platform, or being evasive about implementing timelines and concrete metrics. It's good to have healthy skepticism of a new buzzy AI tool, but the reality is we're all under pressure to embrace AI solutions at the same time we're securing them. So I'm going to start with you, Jack. How do you separate a legitimate AI innovation? And by the way, this is a good tip for as we look at the vendor hall here. Legitimate AI innovation from marketing hype when you're evaluating vendors.
Yeah, so this one's kind of near and dear to me, especially since I'm also at an AI company in this perspective. But at the same time, I think because there's so much hype, there's 2 things that I usually focus on. One is, can you quantify impact? Because a lot of times we'll throw fancy things, but if I can't quantify it, it's meaningless. And then also, what do they actually even mean by AI? Is it just a wrapper? Are they actually using their own models? Do they fine tune it? Really understand what are they doing that's different, because if all they're doing is taking your data, throwing it in a giant LLM and spitting it back out, you can do that yourself, probably a lot cheaper and more effective. And there's just so much stuff that you can't quantify, and there's too much hype right now with this.
All right. How do you verify? And by the way, you must have deal with this all the time because everyone's got AI in and everyone's making claims.
Yeah, and I'm a consumer of AI as well. My team is in the room. They know I've kind of set out a path with AI heavily involved. When I ask vendors, I ask a few different questions. First, I ask, what is it that your tool is going to bring me that hiring a few people won't? Number 1. The second one is I ask them around what makes their models fail. I find that vendors with the best failure analysis actually have the best products. And then I also look to see if they ask me a question. If they don't ask me about data governance or data quality, and the AI tool is based off of my data, then I realize they're just giving me a hyper-powered automation tool and not true AI, because AI is based off of clean data.
I love that. I love that they should ask you a question. And I love the fail one because, by the way, this is something that we ask on our show, Security You Should Know. Tell me what your product does and what it does not do. But the fail question is really a good one, specifically around AI. What are some of the answers you've heard on that?
Most vendors don't have that answer because the salespeople haven't been given that level of understanding. Most of them understand the overall objective, but behind the scenes, they usually say, well, I have to get my CTO on the call or something along those lines.
Have you heard any answers to that question, John?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's some good answers on it. Like, this is what we do. We have an AI governance team. We've evaluated, are they 42001? But it did bring up kind of a different thought of another thing to ask, too, that kind of separates what is their data team inside? Do they have data scientists? Are they building their own stuff? Because I've had some vendors where they actually didn't have any data scientists or anyone really that understood AI on their technical team, which I'm like, how are you selling me a solution you don't even understand?
Chris Hoff had a post about this on LinkedIn, and he was arguing you should ask them some really basic questions about understanding AI. If they don't have basic understandings of AI, like, it's like, run away. Like, you don't want to be dealing with something like that.
That's a great point. Most of the vendors are not building their own models. They're heavily dependent upon one of the 3 or 4 popular ones. So I also like to ask them, how has your product evolved as this model evolved? Because you're basically you're depending on those models to improve for your product to improve. So if you can't show me the difference between those two, then you're probably not doing an AI as well.
And I think even with that, you can push, like, is it fine-tuned or not? How is my data being utilized? But, like, to that point, you don't even need to go down that aspect, because if you're going like, hey, what's your governance? Do you even have data scientists? If the answer is no, you're kind of already done.
It comes down to the basics.
All right, the hardest part of vulnerability management isn't discovery. It's everything after the scan. And that's Rinki Sethi, who's the CISO at Upwind Security, cutting right to the heart of a problem that's been plaguing security teams for decades. We still struggle with the basics. Or we've also, Yaron Levy has said, with Dolby, CISO over at Dolby, he would say the fundamentals, because if they were basic, we would have figured them out. Security teams are held back not by a lack of intent or tooling, but by fragmented asset inventories, lack of business context, and mountains of unprioritized CVEs. For Sethi, security teams need real-time asset intelligence, AI-driven contextualization, and empowerment to remediate continuously without slowing down the business. AI tools are promising real-time asset intelligence and contextualization. Isn't that what we all want? I'm going to ask you, Jack, shouldn't we be solving this problem already? I mean, I hear this again and again. What is stopping us from figuring out the basics, the fundamentals, whatever the heck you want to call it?
I think sometimes we're looking at the problem wrong, quite frankly. Because security isn't the one that typically owns it. Unless you're in an org where maybe you're blending your IT and development with your security team, the problem is giving us better data around CVEs and other things I don't think is a problem. It's if we're going to deploy a package, we're deploying software, do we have a way of how that's going to be maintained? If you don't have that in place, you're going to be chasing contextualization and everything all day long, but the biggest delay isn't the fact of updating the package. It's really easy to update a package. It's the testing and the business that needs to maintain that and make sure it still operates. Because I've had some where it's like, hey, we just updated all our containers and then it doesn't work. So it doesn't help anyone, right? So I think the bigger issue is fundamentally we want to skip the hard basic things, which is what is our asset management lifecycle? What's our patch management? And if we want to bring in a container, a package, et cetera, who is going to be responsible for owning and maintaining that? Because it's real hard to do that after a couple of years. And if you add tech debt on top of it, that's where everyone's having the pain. It's not validating that it's an issue. It's who's going to be responsible for testing and actually getting that functional.
All right. So the problem is it's just making sure the thing you bought actually works and doing the thing it's supposed to be doing.
No, I would actually, it's who is going to maintain it.
Well, but that's part of the job.
It's
doing
part
that.
of it, but people skip that, right? Like, hey, finance wants this new tool. who's going to be maintaining it, right? Who's updating it? When it needs to get updated, do they know how to test it? Do we need to do things? Who's managing the vulnerabilities from those vendors to make sure, like, hey, I need to update my packages?
By the way, I'll tell you something I've heard from CISOs before is they only now look at platform plays because of this fear of, if I bring on another tool, I need to train somebody on this other tool. But if I get on a platform, well, hopefully it's going to work alongside everything else I have, hopefully. All right, I throw this to you, Jerich. Why is the basics of fundamentals still a giant pain in the butt? Like, we've been doing this for years. This comes up all the time.
Yeah, I agree with Jack. I have a little bit of a soapbox, so apologize if I take a little
go
longer
ahead.
here. Security doesn't patch. Like, most of the time, security doesn't patch. DevSecOps, something like that. But I've consulted for 50 companies in the Fortune 500 and multiple three-letter agencies. IT does the patching, and they're at the behest of the business that says, yes, the system can go down. Yes, it's okay if the system goes slower for a little while because you didn't test the patch. Or yes, it's okay that we're going to have 3 weeks of exposure while we test this patch before we move it to production. All security does is provide context. Security provides asset intelligence. Security provides threat intelligence. And so this is not a security problem. This is a business problem. And so when you ask me what's stopping us is that we still look at security. CISOs are always raked over the coals when there's a breach and they say they had X, Y, and Z vulnerability. The CISO never can patch that vulnerability. And so I look at it like a doctor. If a doctor diagnoses you and says, you have this issue, here's this medication, work out, eat healthy, do all these things. If the person decides not to do those things and they get sick or God forbid they die, do you blame the doctor? No. But in security, you blame the CISO every single time when people don't follow the prescription that was handed to them. It's a business problem, not a security problem.
As a CISO, do you feel this pressure?
Could you hear the passion in my voice?
Yes, I did.
Absolutely, I feel this pressure.
Because you've had the role. What's your advice to other CISOs to alleviate this then?
Well, number one, communicate to the leaders and the SOT and the board and so forth. Hey, we're going to have a bad day one day, no matter what. Just expect it. My goal is to help you understand where that bad day can occur. And my vulnerability reporting, my timelines for how quickly we address those vulnerabilities, those are all indications as to how well we're actually performing. And I always say we because it is not me. We always say security is a team sport. This is one of the areas where they say, no, it's a sport of one when it comes to vulnerability management. But it's really
that's a
team
lot of
sport.
weight on your shoulders. All right.
100%.
Were you cringing, or did you feel some of Jerich's pain as he was on his soapbox there, Jack?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's even why I mentioned before, I don't think contextualization is our issue, right? It's an alignment issue. It's a business priority issue. Do we agree that we're going to be maintaining stuff and what's going to be our schedule? Because otherwise, to Jerich's point, we're the doctors that someone's still smoking and eating junk food every day and, okay, they gained weight. Surprise, surprise. Or worse, you have a heart attack, right? Like, we need to be able to get into the point of how we're aligning with the business, and it needs to be from the top executive down. We agree this is a priority because it's really easy because it's like, oh, that's your metric, not mine in some cases, which is part of the issue, right? Do you hold the business accountable if that doesn't happen? Or are you being held accountable for something you don't control? Because that dynamic is where you can tell that you have a big problem. You need to make sure that they're being held accountable for the right metrics, otherwise you're going to fail.
It's time for the audience question speed round.
All right, we have a good amount of time to get through a bunch of these questions. These are questions I got from last night. We had a fun meetup of fans of the CISO series. And now, this comes from Aaron Hipley, and I just want to just answer these as quick as you can. And I've run into people who are looking for jobs here in cybersecurity, and Aaron is looking himself, so positive. And when I say hacking, I'm talking about like sort of working around the system, not literally breaking in.
Hacking should not always be a negative term.
No, it's a positive. We're using it in a very positive way. So either one of you jump in first on this. What are the best examples of hacking the hiring process that you have seen, that you were impressed by?
I think if you understand what someone's looking for and you can show quantifiably how you can do that, or even presenting at a conference, I've seen people actually get things from that. Contributing to open source we talked about. I think there's lots of different ways to be able to do that. And then also a lot of it's just networking, getting to know people, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's going to help you at least, may not get you the job, but at least it'll get you through the front door in a lot of cases.
What about you? What's the best example you've seen?
This hasn't happened to me, but I had a CISO tell me a story where he was hiring a threat intel analyst, and the analyst showed up with all this OSINT on the person interviewing him. He said, here are all the things that are out there in the wild. Here are all the things that we could have done that I have seen. And by the way, this used to be your password. I can do that for the company. Hire me.
Yeah, that's good. And the OSINT is out there. It's pretty visible. All right, that's a good one. All right, this comes from Bill Brenner of Cyber Risk Alliance. What do you think, and by the way, one of the things we were talking about is like that CISOs and security professionals need a space where they can like just complain about issues, like maybe the pressure the business is giving them, like you've done right here on this show. But the problem is there's some issues that you would like to speak about anonymously, like you don't want your name attached to. So what do you think people would talk about if there was an anonymous space, Reddit can sometimes be that, to talk about cyber and cyber stress? What do you think that we're not talking about that people would talk about more if they spoke about it anonymously? What do you think?
Excuse my French, but the assholes in the industry. We can't always talk about them, but if you knew that you could share who was and who is, I think that would be something that we share a little bit more frequently.
Okay.
I think also some of the internal roadblocks you get sometimes, right? On a closed forum, maybe you feel open on it, but honestly, I think if it's more anonymous, people might even talk more about, hey, I tried to do this and it got shut down, or we wanted a patch and we were just told no. And then something bad goes happen, and it's like, oh, not necessarily surprised, sadly.
Would you see benefit from either reading or participating in an anonymous cybersecurity forum? And again, Reddit could be that. What do you think?
I think the problem you have sometimes is when it gets anonymous, it's hard to make sure that they're adding value and it doesn't just become trolling.
Okay, good point. All right, what do you think, Jerich?
I mean, if you just want to vent, sure. But if you want to have a dialogue, then the anonymous aspect of it, it provides a disservice at that point.
Okay. All right. I like this one from Josh Dre over at San Jacinto College. Am I saying that right, or have I screwed that up completely? How do I say it? San Jacinto College. All right. Josh Dre of San Jacinto College says, quote, for your own security environment, how are you making space for AI innovation? And can you make space? Do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I challenged my team. I mean, they're in the room, right, to find ways to do what you're doing more efficiently, harnessing and leveraging AI. If you succeed, great. And if you fail, nothing has changed.
Nothing.
I think you just need to be conscious about it, right? What are you hoping to accomplish? What are you doing? Do you have a way to kind of measure yourselves with it? And also automation is key here, right? Some of the AI really helps extend some of the automation even SOAR back in the day that you had. So being able to actually see what you're doing and replacing manual work.
Yeah, set the goal and objective. Don't say go use AI. You got to set an objective, whatever that objective may be. If it's be more efficient, if it's move at scale, if it's move faster, whatever it is, set the objective and then see what happens.
All right, try not to take this as too global a question. We're going to get through two more really quickly. What are ways you're managing the integrity of AI data? Because this is a big issue. What do you look for? Like, what's a first step when you're dealing with that?
So I think for that, do you even understand where your data is? And do you have a governance model? Right? I would say for us, when we went through that, being able to understand how many models we have in-house, what's fine-tuned, what do we use that's outside, what's open source, where do we have AI models inside of our vendors? Like just getting that inventory to me is step one. And then two, defining what controls you want on it, right? Hey, if this is something we're doing fine-tuning ourselves, do we do bias testing? What guardrails do we implement? So like having a strategy on that to me is key.
And, this comes from Gerald Garner of NetSync. You got an answer for this?
I'll pass on that.
All right. All right, last question. What's your best, and comes from Brian Zabetti of Pliancy. What's your best negotiating technique with a stakeholder? You got to get them to do something. How do you get them? What's your best technique?
My go-to are always analogies and metaphors. Hopefully one that puts up a mirror and helps them understand the decision that they're making. Usually when people understand a risk, they're willing to take an action, but no one's willing to open up their paybook for something that they don't truly understand. So it's my job to help them understand it. And then from there, the negotiation's a lot easier.
Yeah, so mine is pretty simple with it, especially since we're a B2B company. It's impact on customers with it. Hey, if we don't do this, this is the impact, or we're not going to be able to get this business. Relating it back to sales, to me, has always been the easiest way to make it a bit easier to get them on board.
Well, that brings us to the very end of our episode. Let's hear it for our guest today, Jack Lydecker, who's the CISO of Gong. Also, Jerich Beason, who's the CISO over at WM, and our audience, and for WhoSecCon. Let's hear it for yourselves. And lastly, Vorlon Security, Enterprise SaaS Security, that's light years behind legacy SSPM tools. Remember, go to VORLON.io. That's Vorlon.io. Let them know you heard about them from the CISO series. My very last question for you gentlemen, are you hiring?
Yes.
Are you hiring, Jack?
Yes, I am. You can always look at the job board.
They have job boards, and I asked them earlier, you can contact them. We will have their LinkedIn profiles linked on the podcast episode for this very show. Thank you very much. Thank you to WhoSecCon for making this possible, and thank you, everybody. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for listening and contributing to the CISO series.